Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain.
The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham.
I'm Batman.
Support for this episode of the Batman on Film Social Hour is brought to you by Manscaped, the men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Jett BOF, and that will be through November 18, 2021. So use the code Jett BOF, JETT-BOF at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Hey now! Welcome to episode 39 of the Batman on Film Social Hour. This is the Brandon Carr edition of the Batman on Film Social Hour. Rick, you know who Brandon Carr is?
Do I know who is?
Brandon Carr.
I do not know who's Brandon Carr.
You have no idea? I know you don't have any idea. That's one of the reasons I brought it up.
The Brandon Carr edition of the podcast. I probably know who it is, and I'm just not catching the reference.
You don't know who it is. I know for a fact.
Okay, so
It's a former Dallas Cowboy.
Bill, what is the reference to a former Dallas Cowboy player to the
Because
show?
on each show I bring up it's episode 39. Brandon Carr won. He wore
Brandon
number 39.
Number 39. Okay, all right. So
like number.
I haven't. Listen, hold on.
Let me ask you. I give you an example.
Tangent,
Someone you may hold on. Like for example, like number.
No, if it was episode 22. Obviously, it's Emmett Smith. I get it. I get the correlation.
Okay. All right.
My thing is this. I haven't done a social hour, and so you didn't do this, and we call these things the vlog. And so I'm thinking comic book writer. I'm thinking film producer. I'm like, what is he talking about? Doesn't matter. But listen, before we get started, Bill, for my first social hour, I appreciate you still having me on. My dog ate my microphone cord. So I'm hoping that I sound okay to our
Yeah, that was a Batman on Film purchase for you.
It was, and I used it for years, and I went to plug it in this morning, and it is shredded. So trip to Best Buy today.
Let me say this. As long as we've done these, I guess we go back to what, 2014 doing this?
Yes.
So going on 8 years, I have never seen as many technical difficulties and some kind of issue fuck up with anyone more than you, sir. And you know that. That's like it's either you're doing a bit or you're hexed.
I think that in terms of back in the day when I lived in Dallas, in my old house there, I had a lot of issues technically with internet and things like that. That was a bitch. But I've never had a dog literally eat my homework.
But it's always something. God damn it.
What was it last time? I don't have any.
I don't
issues
even. Oh my!
You know what? When I do shows without you, I don't have problems.
You're getting me off on a tangent. This is Bill Jett Ramey. I'm the founder of fucking Batman on Film, and I am. I'm so flabbergasted by the technical difficulties. I've got to get back on track here, and the fact you didn't know who Brandon Carr was, but I suspected that. Rick Shew, everybody. Rick Shew is here for this edition of the Batman on Film Social Hour. And I actually, we're not going to talk about the Batman per se, because we've talked it to death and there's nothing really new other than a shitload of illicit promotional material was leaked online last week. And, but I'm not going to get into that. But
why not?
Because I'm not going to give any credence to that kind of nonsense.
No, I didn't mean that. I mean just the fact that so much shit leaked last week.
Closer you get to a film's release, the more people have their hands on stuff. A lot of it's outsourced, a lot of it is contracted out, and you will have some asshole post something on Twitter, or wherever, and it's like setting fire to a dry forest, dropping a match in a dry forest, and using gasoline on top of it.
It just seems like there should be better control. Now, no one can control what.
Well, you back in the day when that happened,
right.
You didn't have the social media. Now it's it's.
Well, you also didn't have this revenue, Bill. You didn't have YouTube sites that prey on leaks and.
Well, that's exactly. That's all
to drive clicks.
That's all.
That's how they're paying rent.
It's all part of it.
That's how they're paying. That's how they're paying rent, Bill. That's the difference in you.
Exactly.
BOF is a passion project, and they are doing it to make a living. And when you do that in sales, we call it commission breath, right? Someone desperate. And when they're desperate for money, and that means they're desperate for clicks, and they'll do anything. And they will ruin a movie for millions of fans, or tens of thousands of fans at least, the ones that really pay attention to this shit online, to get clicks. It's awful.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's disheartening sometimes because there ain't many good sites left, brother.
Let me just say this, because I've got this cool sweatshirt. And I know this is actually a Costco Kirkland brand thing, but I do love Spider-Man, so we'll just pretend like it's that. Today, there's a new Spider-Man trailer dropping, Bill. I don't know if it's just going to drop in this deal they're doing in Sherman Oaks tonight, this event, or we're actually going to get it online. Remains to be seen. My guess is we will. But my theory is they're doing this because they kind of have to, because of a bunch of damn leaks that started coming out on that. Whether those were 100% accurate or not, there's something brewing there, and I guess we're getting into it.
I think they had planned to drop a trailer, but
let me rephrase. I won't say anything, but let's see what the context of said trailer is tonight. If it is what I think it's going to be, I think that's intentional behind the leaks, and that's if certain people pop up in the trailer. I'll leave it at that. But that Obi-Wan Kenobi sizzle for a Disney Plus day, that leaked a day early. Now someone internal. I shared that damn thing thinking it was a legit. It wasn't like check out the Obi-Wan thing, exclamation point. It was real matter-of-factly Obi-Wan Kenobi series sizzle Disney Plus. Whoever did that did it smart, because it looked like it came from Lucasfilm.
Well, I'm sure it is something that was hijacked for lack of or pirated, and it probably was legitimate, really produced, but
they released it 24 hours later. So
boy, that's what I'm saying. You gotta be careful where you're retweeting stuff from who it's posting it.
Well, BOF's Eric Holzman texted it to me from YouTube, so I believe.
Now you're calling Eric out on purpose. You're the one that retweeted it. It's like saying, it's like my dog ate my homework bullshit.
My dog ate my.
Yeah. All right, let's get to it.
That dog got ran over the other day, Bill. So I'm gonna tell him.
Yeah, I know that. I'm glad he's well. All right, look.
All right.
So here's the deal. We're less than 4 months away. I mean, hell, we're 3.5 months away from the Batman, and this is the first solo Batman film in a decade, since 2012 and The Dark Knight Rises, which ended the Dark Knight trilogy. And the Dark Knight trilogy kind of set a precedent to where it was a finite story told over 3 films, and it didn't continue. You could have, no one could have left, and then someone picked it up and continued on, and you continue on and you continue on. Kind of like, I guess, like the Bond films were from Sean Connery through Pierce Brosnan. Okay, it was technically the same Bond, technically the same universe. They were on a perpetual soft reboot in a way, or they would just they just change actors, different roles, and different creative teams and directors. But, you know, Batman Begins was like the first reboot that we've seen. I mean, just straight up reboot we've seen in really in any comic book film. That was something new back in 2005. And ironically, the producers of the James Bond series took a page from Chris Nolan and Batman, and Casino Royale with Daniel Craig kind of was Bond's Batman Begins, if you will. And now you have No Time to Die, 5 films with Daniel Craig. No Time to Die is kind of that Bond's Dark Knight Rises. And so, as you know, Bond's coming to an end. We're going to get another James Bond, you know, at some point here in the next probably 3, 4, or 5 years, and it'll be a reboot and another story arc. And we've got Batman, a rebooted Batman film series, the second reboot. I mean, I'm not going to count, and I'm not doing it because I'm not a fan of Batman v Superman or all that stuff. I'm just saying that was not solo Batman. So I'm not going to compare it to it. It was just not, even though Batman v Superman was essentially a Batman film, but that's a whole different conversation.
You stole my joke.
So, years ago, Rick, like around the time that we knew Batman Begins was coming, so it's 2004-ish. I'd wrote something on Batman on Film about Batman needs to be like Bond. And my whole take was, you know, yeah, just, you know, you run it better than you did before, you know, with, you know, Batman 89 through Batman and Robin. And, you know, actors may come and go as Alfred and Batman and different Commissioner Gordon, but you just keep it going, you know, it just keep it going. That's the way it should be. And I was wrong, because I think, I strongly believe that the way to do it is you get a filmmaker with a take, Chris Nolan, Matt Reeves, and you let them do their thing. You're not forcing actors on them. You're not forcing continuity on them. I mean, think about coming in after Nolan, and you're not Nolan, but you're going to have to use probably, I mean, you're going to use Bale, or you're going to recast, but it's still the same Batman technically, and you're still kind of beholden to the continuity of the Dark Knight trilogy. So whatever.
Sounds an awful lot like Joel Schumacher's Task.
Pretty much, yeah. And if you're doing that, to me, you're going to eventually run it to the ground. I mean, it may not be 4 films like the Schumacher Burton movies were, you know, until they ran into the ground after 4 films, and then you rebooted. But you eventually, I mean, there's just so many villains. There's just so many story arcs. There's just, I mean, to me, it's the beauty of that Dark Knight trilogy was it one story. And that was that's hard. That was one of the reasons why it was hard for people to wrap their heads around it, that Nolan actually ended it, you know?
Because Batman quit.
Yeah, it's not comic books. The movies aren't comic books. They're not, you know, Batman's been going never ending since 1939 in comic books. And yes, there's been reboots and whatnot, but still. I mean,
well, yeah,
on
of course
and on
there
and
are.
on, and a different audience, quite frankly.
Sure.
And so forth.
Different writers with different continuity and subplots, and et cetera.
So
I think that's actually a good example of what to do in film.
I propose, just for the sake of this conversation, on a bat poll yesterday, BOF bat poll. The question was, the live action Batman film franchise should be, and there had 2 choices: a long-term series of films with the same continuity, never-ending storyline with different directors, creative teams, and actors when needed, or a series of a set number of films under one filmmaker, creative team that ends with, let me move this over, ends with a finite ending and then is eventually rebooted. So it's basically the Dark Knight trilogy came to an end, and then we've got the Batman series starting back up, which has nothing to do with the Dark Knight trilogy. So and I said comment because I may read some of these in it shortly. So the vote outcome was percentage-wise about, let's see, 69.16% are in favor of a series with a set number of films and one creative team telling one story over the course of 3, 4, 5 films, and then it's eventually rebooted under another filmmaker down the line, as opposed to 30.84% of folks who want it to continue long-term, same continuity, never-ending storyline, different directors, different actors when needed, and so forth and so on. So if you voted, where would you vote, Rick?
I'm just wondering if those 30-something% thought that through. They're saying that they want to see the same continuity, but different actors can play. So we could just continue the Tim Burton, Joe Schumacher.
And you just like James Bond did it from the 60s up through when was Bronson done? Early 2000? Yeah.
Yeah, because
so I mean, long ass time. That was a lot. There was Sean Connery, Roger Moore, George Lazenby. There was I'm missing one. The one between Roger Moore and Pierce Brosnan. He did 2 of them.
Tim.
Oh God, I just had it and you said Tim.
It's a T, right?
It'll pop into my head shortly. Anyway, they were all technically playing the same James Bond, So that's what that's been the comparison. So yeah, here's some of the response. No, so where would you vote? Where would you go? What is your preference there? And a lot of them said, I want this. I'd like to see this. Okay. But it's framed as I think it's the best thing for the viability, the long-term health and success of the franchise is to do these set number of films with a finite story, with an ending under one filmmaker that's consistent, and then let someone else, 5 years later or a decade later do something else.
And by ending, it doesn't have to be an ending in the sense of like the Dark Knight Rises, where he makes people think that he sacrificed his life for his city, and then he goes island hopping with Santa Claus, and then he's got a new Batman. Right? Or it doesn't have to mean that he dies. It just means there's an accomplishment of something, perhaps.
The story ended, in Rises. Right. That Bruce Wayne story ended. That was the end of it. It doesn't mean he dies. I mean, hell, the Batman films, it could end with Batman at the pinnacle of his Batmanness.
There's a debate that goes around about the best ending of a sitcom. Now, this has also come from the age from the 1950s through the 1990s, because early 2000s, because sitcoms as we knew it with canned laugh tracks and everything kind of started to die off after Friends and Frasers went off the air. And that's also when satellite TV exploded. But if you can remember a time in that golden age of television, I'm just kind of spitballing here. It was about 1950 to 2002, when sitcoms ruled the day. The best ending of a sitcom. There's debates about Seinfeld, MASH, whatever, Cosby. It doesn't matter. Mine was always Cheers, because Cheers ended where there was resolve in the characters, especially the lead, Sam, Ted Danson, that his bar did not close. He just grew into the role he needed to grow into. He walks off into the sunset to the back of his bar, and that regardless of people coming on Frasier, the spin-off later, pretend like that show didn't exist. Just the ending of that show, you knew the bar was always going to be open. They're all going to be there, and he's going to be better for it. That's an ending, and yet the bar's still open. So you could do that with the Batman ending, where the bar's still open. Okay, the Batcave's still open.
Yeah,
Bruce Wayne is still active. Bruce Wayne is still Sam Maloney. Still owns his bar. He's still protecting his city. There's a story that sort of ends that gives that character dignity and then passes on the torch for another filmmaker, another storytellers to step in and do that, to tell their version. And the reason why that's better, because look, at the end of the day, to answer that question, I would say, whatever is great and however they get there, I don't give a damn. If that way works, great. This way works great. If it's a great Batman story and it resonates with me, I don't really give a shit. But the past is prologue. Here's what we know so far. Cinematic Batman history, all right? Tim Burton directs the first one. Fantastic film. Still one of my favorite Batman movies. I love it. Probably have seen it more than any movie in existence. It is great, all right? Tim Burton's in creative control. I guarantee you at the very beginning, and Mr. Uzlan obviously, correct me on this if I'm incorrect, my guess is they didn't just give Tim Burton this full reign of power at the very beginning.
Batman 89 was more of a
test.
Producer-driven film than a director-driven film. That's
precisely
just a fact.
And it was a test to see if this would work. See if Keaton could work. See if live-action Batman post 1960s could work, etc. And it worked. So then they just gave it to Tim Burton, and then he made a Tim Burton movie, which was Batman Returns, which was divisive and a film you and I both agreed we don't like. And what happens from there? Then they scramble around, they get a new filmmaker with a completely different vision, and then Dr. Keaton jumps ship, and then all of a sudden you have Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. It was really kind of a mess post 89. Well, that didn't work, and that was the same continuity with two different filmmakers because there wasn't a plan at the beginning. Then you look at Nolan. I'm not saying that he had the whole three stories mapped out. Bill, you know better than I do. You've interviewed him. But I know that he at least had a vision. And obviously, the ending scene on the rooftop with the Joker card, whether he ever made another film or not, it gave him a springboard to be able to do that.
Well, he told me, he said, and he said not just to me, but he said in interviews that, you know, he didn't know if he would wanted to do another Batman film. There was an idea to do 3. But he was also someone that would tell his writers, and himself included, don't put everything in the movie to make it the best movie you can. Don't hold anything back. And he said about the Joker card, it was always giving, and Nolan does that. It's kind of a trademark. It's like, it was an idea that the story continues. Even if there's never another film, he always would say, you know, you can write the story, whatever you want to happen, whatever you want to happen after Rises. You can do it. You can do it in your head. You know,
the bar's still open.
Yes.
Great. So, and then obviously that worked out well. And then you had this creative mind, this driving force behind this trilogy, which I agree with you is more or less one 8-hour picture, so to speak. That worked. So far, that's the recipe that's worked. I look at the trailer and everything I know and I've read about with the Batman, and I'm like, man, this is like. It is speaking to me. This is my jam. This is my Batman. This taps into my sensibilities. You and I both have said that. If this film works like I think it's going to, then I want Reeves to tell a story. I want to get his arms wrapped around a full story with a definitive middle. It has a beginning, definitive middle, and end. And then let it rest, and then just put that, you know, in the history books as a great Batman story. Because at the end of the day, for me, the Nolan films is really just this great Bruce Wayne story. That's all it is. When I boil it down, that's what it is. So maybe in this case, it's a little bit more of a Batman story versus a Bruce Wayne story, or whatever. Whatever it is, it seems like to date, that's the recipe that works. So if I had to vote right now for the poll, I would say let a creative force come in, whether it's, you know, one filmmaker or one or two that are collaborating or whatever, and their writers, and let them tell a story over the course of, we always kind of put it in a box, right? It's always got to be a trilogy. Why can't it be 4 films?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It could be 4.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this
Sure. It could be just 2. Maybe
the Daniel Craig Bond story is 5 films, you know?
Is this the 5th one
Yes.
with him?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
For some reason, I thought there were more than that. I guess he's just been doing it for so long and he's so iconic. It just feels like there's been like at least 7 or 8. I don't know.
Well, he's not Sean Connery. I think Connery did it, 7 times? But
I'm not a real big fan of that franchise. I mean, I like Bond. He's cool. I've seen probably 50% of the films, but it's been a while. Did we ever figure out who the hell that other person was? It's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, let's move on. So
yes,
that's my
it
vote.
just
Now,
hit me. Timothy Dalton.
I told you. I said Tim.
Yeah, I just couldn't get the last. Timothy Dalton. Yeah.
Timothy. Damn it.
Yeah, he did too.
Oh man, I knew. At least I was right. It was Tim.
Okay. So
All right.
here are some of the responses. I just want, and I'll, you know, a lot of it is what I want. And I'm trying to say, even though the way I voted is my preference, I truly believe it's the best way. It's the best method that keeps these films viable going forward, because you're going to run it into the damn ground if you just keep going and going and going. It's not comic books. Okay. Kara says she would prefer the series to continue for many more movies. It's great we're getting a new, fresh take on a young, anger-filled Batman. I like to see him become more and more established through many films. Who says he's not? My thing is, who says he's not going to become the established Batman at some point? Even if Reeves only did 3 films. Let's stick with the great Batman and follow his journey to the end. Well, that's kind of my point. Yeah. Sean Connery played Bond 7 times. I know they made those films more frequently back then, but I'd like to see Robert play Bruce Wayne for more than 3 films. And then here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. 3 films, dude, is a decade plus.
Yeah, especially for Nolan.
That is a long time that's a long time. Okay. 3, that's a decade plus.
So
5 films is, you're getting toward damn 20 years, 15, at least a decade and a half plus. So I just, it's a long time for these people to be involved,
No one's
with the same thing.
And these are just the release dates. Obviously, the magic happens on set the year or 2 prior to the release dates, but not here or there.
Just like Superman 77, Rick.
Yeah,
you thought that movie came out in 77.
No, sir, I did not.
Yes, you did.
And I will die on that hill. No, sir, I will.
Everybody knows. All right, come on,
no. The magic happens between the cast and the directors. That does not happen when the damn thing's released. Then it doesn't belong to them anymore once that happens, Bill. It belongs to the audience.
The film is the magic. The film is the magic.
Process is the magic.
The process is how the trick is done. You don't want to know how the trick's done.
But anyway, that's where the magic happens. All right, moving on.
No, it doesn't. Go, come on, get to your point.
They were on set. It was a magical experience. I guess you could say that they were in the theater and they had to respond. Bottom line, the movies came out between 2005 and 2012. The original Star Wars, 77 to 83. So even if it's not 10 years, you're still looking at 7 or 8. That's a long time, man.
I'm talking about from the moment that Nolan was signed, he made his pitch, was hired, through the release of The Dark Knight Rises, is a decade. He spent a decade of his life involved with Batman.
So really 04 to 13 in a way, when you think about.
He was, we're going to 2002, 2003,
2000, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think I said 03 or 04. Not 03. That's
a decade. It's a decade.
Yeah,
Matt Reeves, by the time when the Batman comes out next year in 3.5 months, he will have spent almost 5 years of his life already on this project. Already half a decade.
That's a long
for
time.
One film. And I know that we had to deal with the pandemic and all that and that nonsense, and that added to it. But still, regardless, he spent 5 years of his life, essentially 4.5.
Well, keep in mind, for a year he shot with Affleck, and he had him running around like an 8. But that Batman just wasn't resonating on set, so they 86. Anyway.
Well, I am not commenting on that bullshit. Okay.
All right, I was like, what? I had a.
And I'd also believe that. I believe you think that Affleck did work for Matt Reeves on a Batman film at one point.
He crawled around like an 8.
Okay. So, anyway, some more comments. I like stories that have clear beginnings and endings, be it 3 movies or 5 movies. Okay. Firm believer in the finite story method. Would prefer to see a director given a clean slate, like Matt Reeves, like Nolan, and then be tied to the story points or boundaries set by others, and not be tied to story points or boundaries that are set by others. Okay, that's part of the thing. I mean, if you were going to do a Batman film, and if you're an established director, don't you want to do your own thing, Rick? Don't you want to have your own Batman? I mean, Matt Reeves, when he went in to pitch, I'm sure that, the original thing was to take over for Ben Affleck. He goes, all right, look, guys, if you want me to do a Batman film, here's what I would do. Here's how I would do it. You either agree with me and we'll work together, or not. That's fine. It's cool. That's literally what happened. And then he's doing his own thing.
He is, and if this works, we might even see a little bit more of him in the second film. I mean, he's probably got a little bit of handcuffs, a little bit, because it's not proven entity yet. Well, I say entity, obviously Batman, cinematic Batman is, but his version of it. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, Batman Begins.
The point is, he didn't come in and say, okay, I will make Ben Affleck's the Batman. Ben Affleck will star in it. I will direct this film just to ease him up, and I will be beholden to the continuity, all the baggage, and I mean that, I don't mean that in a negative way, but all the history and the baggage that comes with this Batman who's almost 50 years old, and all that continuity comes with it. So I'm already handcuffed. I'm already handcuffed if I go that route. As opposed to, he says, here's how I would do it. Obviously was a young Batman in his first year who's still trying to figure it out, and he's got this conflict between Bruce Wayne and Batman. Where is the separation line? That is a big part of this film, and obviously that's something he's always wanted. That's probably said, if I ever do a Batman film, this is what I would do in his head, and then he got a chance to do it. So,
and listen, they obviously believe in him. I mean, they are. It's an expansion of said universe on HBO Max. I'm a little confused on some of that. I mean, obviously, I don't know a lot of what. I know that he's telling a story of Oswald, and obviously that character is Farrell's performance obviously is up to standards, so to speak. So that's going to be interesting. You and I talked about that off mic yesterday. Is if he tells a story in 3 parts on live action, how much is he wanting to enhance by HBO Max as it intertwines in between the films? And once it's over, if there's a definitive ending, when I say definitive, like the part didn't close, but everybody's resolved. But does that extend? If this is working, do they spin off until another? Is suddenly there's adventure stories with John Blake's Batman? That's not the example. I just mean it was.
No, the stuff that's going to be on HBO Max is to enhance the film is the center. These are just part of that, satellites that are
sure.
They're not going to continue TV shows set in the Batman universe after the Batman films come to an end.
I can't think of anything that even compares to this. So take Star Wars, for example. We're getting all the stuff like The Mandalorian, which is awesome, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan. It's enhancing stories that were already told.
Yes.
This and kind of connecting dots between certain trilogies and everything. So that makes a little bit more sense. The
Gotham PD / Arkham series is set before the Batman. And obviously the Penguin thing that's in development is set before the Batman because it's more of an origin story for the Penguin. So it's not anything after the Batman or down the line. It's not prologue. It's more prologue than it would be epilogue type stuff,
So nothing as you know it is intertwining in real time. There's not events that will be taking place.
Not unless they come up with something, or they do something else. But the two they've mentioned are before the Batman. The Penguin one and the Gotham PD / Arkham whatever. That's morphing into. It's set before, and it's in year 1. It said specifically that one is in year 1. Batman exists. He's in year 1, so it's before the Batman. Batman he's in the second year in the film.
Yeah. Ooh. As a casual fan, like my wife, friends of ours, buddies, to try to explain all this shit to them, it's hard for me to keep up with it. And like, wait a minute, this Batman, that one doesn't exist anymore, but Michael Keaton's also back. Is he a part of this? So Ben Affleck's also the Michael Keaton?
But you know what? People don't care. They may ask those questions, but the bottom line is for the general audience, they just They go see the movie and they'll either like it or they're not. They won't.
This is true, but these are the you know the tiers, Bill. This is like the just above casual fans, the really super curious casual fans that are into it more than the casual fans, but they don't, they're not going to come on and do a podcast or write an op-ed about it or talk about it every damn day. That group, there's a lot of those kind of people. I know a lot of them. It's just funny. It's a funny conversation to have because we've not ever had it this damn complex. There's been times where, the Dean Cain Superman has nothing to do with Chris Reeve. Okay, that's
it's a different age for comic book cinema and comic book television. Of course. This is something that would. It's a new, relatively speaking.
And one of the two grandfathers that made this possible, in my opinion, the first is the Superman the movie. That didn't work. Obviously, we wouldn't have Superman sequels, and then Batman '89. And those two films working the way they did.
That's the beginning of modern comic book film.
So if it wasn't for Richard Donner or Tim Burton, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. Which is pretty
well.
crazy.
I'm going to give credit to. I got to give credit to. Look, I love Richard Donner. He made and I love Superman the movie. But as much as we can bitch about the Salkinds, the producers, that it was, they're the ones who pushed to do a live action big screen Superman movie.
Of course.
And then
Uslan
and Michael
Uslan.
Of
course.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
That's peeling back the onion, and that's fair. But just for this kind of this bold statement for the purposes of this,
I got to be accurate historically. Come on now.
This is right. And if it wasn't for their decisions to hire said directors, we wouldn't be here and whatever. And I'm sure there's people that we can think even prior to those individuals. And we could take this thing all the way back to Bob Kane if you want to get technical. I'm just saying.
Oh, really? You're gonna go to who is Bill Finger, Rick?
He was number 34 cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys.
Who is Bill Finger?
He is the understated co-creator of the Batman.
Is he understated now?
Well, I don't know. He's not in our immediate circle, no. But I think, do the casual above tier 3 fans know who he is? Sadly, probably not.
Is his name on films now?
It is.
You sure?
It is.
Are you sure?
I am 98% sure. Yes, it is.
Is his name? Is he getting credit in comic books?
He is.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, you're too much fun.
Just so everybody knows, Bill, he'll get on his phone. He'll say, "I'm gonna throw a curveball at Rick. I'm gonna try to embarrass him in front of everybody." Here's the thing: this isn't live, so I can just still this and slash the editing, and I don't give a shit because he doesn't embarrass me. I don't care. I just don't care.
Okay, I'm going to go through some of these. Just read a few more of these.
Hey, so it's been a year since we've done this. There's going to be a lot of people watching this that's never seen you and I talk. Is this going to be jarring to them? They're going to think, what the hell's going on with this show?
They may probably they'll probably email me and go, "What the hell are you doing, son? What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Why are you bringing this some bitch?
What are you doing with a person that challenges you?"
Okay, by far. Well, to challenge you, you know what the hell you're talking about.
And by the way, yes.
All right, come on now. I got to get on this. We're gonna have you.
All right, where are we?
All right.
I know.
So just I'm gonna give you some comments. You can react. Let's see. Our old friend Rob Veach votes for the reboots, but he wants them loose reboots. I don't need a new origin story. Okay. A lot of that reminds me of, the Batman is just a rehash of Batman Begins. That's bullshit. It's not. There's no origin story.
Let me just say this. Okay. To be fair, they're going to tap upon his origins. There's no way we're not going to see his parents murdered in this film.
Really?
You know that, right?
You think not? You think they're going to show it again?
I think that to some extent, yes. Whether you see the whole thing play out or Bruce is looking at his...
We know that aspect is part of Batman whether he's
know.
20 or he's 30 or he's 55 in the Dark
I
Knight
know,
Returns.
I know, and I agree with that. And you're not going to change that because that's who the character
So when
is.
you're saying origin,
That's
his origin story is, you see the Wayne murders, you see Batman, like in Batman Begins, training. How did he become Batman? That's the origin. That's an origin story. This is not an origin story. He's already freaking Batman.
I know, but we've seen his parents get killed from, and now granted, also you and I are old enough to have seen these films as at least teenagers in the theaters. And Batman 9 and Batman Forever, and not in Returns, not in Batman and Robin. I don't think it was in Batman and Robin. No, and B versus S, and then in the Gotham show. So it's a lot, and I understand that, but so that's all I'm saying.
I don't want to see it either, but people
Right,
know. People look.
And to be honest,
there ain't 9 out of 10 people know why Batman's Batman.
I'll give Snyder credit here. I think that's probably the most, I don't know if compelling's the right word, but very well done, that scene in B versus S. And I don't really like that movie very much. That's a good scene. But so I think when they talk about origin, they probably, I don't want to speak for this gentleman or this lady. I didn't hear who you said it was, but that could probably be a little bit of, dude, parents can show me again. It's like, yeah, but what they have to understand is that if we're going to reboot, and especially if that individual voted for said reboots, you can't avoid that. That's almost like saying, I don't want to see another Batmobile. I don't really want to see another cow. Well, sorry, you're gonna get it.
I think with them, it's specifically the Wayne murders and Batman becoming Batman. Bruce Wayne becoming Batman is when they mention origin.
We can have a debate. Yeah. We can have a debate. Is that the moment he became Batman? In essence, sure. It's the genesis of it, right? So again, it all ties in together. All right, go ahead.
Did he become Batman that moment? It sure started the route, but he's not Batman until he's Batman.
Sure, and that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a semantics discussion, like, and symbolically, yeah, he kind of became Batman.
All right, Rob says that he talks about their loose continuity, I guess soft reboots in a way, 3 or 4 movies, but he wants directors to choose their own aesthetic. See, that's where their own aesthetics, setting timeline without being strictly bound by what the last creative team did. It's hard to do that if you're going for, a loose continuity between 2 different creative teams. I mean, you got to have a line there. I'm with you. If Rob, if you're talking about the Wayne murders, I'm with you. I don't think we're going to get that in the Batman, but clearly, I mean, like I told Rick, I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter what age Batman is. That is part of Batman. It has to be there regardless of, what. Jeremy Wyatt says, I'm good with Reeves telling his story, a trilogy or more. Okay. I'm not pigeonholing it down to just a trilogy, but it could be 4 movies. It could be
Indiana Jones is about to be 5 movies. And
of course, but that's not that's more of running into the ground in my opinion, but because the last one wasn't all that great. It's not one creative team telling the whole Indiana Jones story over the, I have no interest in that new Indiana Jones movie, to be honest.
Spielberg's not even directing it. He's not involved in it, is he?
I'm sure he's producer.
And well, you know what that word means. They producing could be something.
Oh, well, it depends. I mean, a lot of producers have a lot of creative control. Kevin Feige with Marvel.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And obviously Spielberg has the name power to do whatever he wants. I'm just curious of how hands-on.
I'm sure anything that gets done with Indiana Jones, Spielberg has to okay and be involved with.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Let's see. A lot of these. Okay, here's a different opinion. I prefer long continuity, even if it's loose. I'm getting sick of younger Batman. I want to be able to see characters like Red Hood and Damian. So you're wanting this long continuity where you're bringing in the entire Batman family. You want it to go. That's a long run, my friend, to get to that point. I think. I mean, because to get to Red Hood, you got to go through the whole Dick Grayson. I mean, Dick Grayson has to, or you have to have Dick Grayson be Robin, and then become Nightwing, and then Batman brings in another Robin, and then that Robin gets killed. I mean,
Michael Keaton's Batman in the Flash in continuity have a Robin and maybe have a Nightwing. Do you think that's even possible? Water a little bit, and then also
if the comic book they're doing now, the Batman '89 six issue miniseries is canon, then yes, but he's not Dick Grayson. Spoiler alert. I mean, and if you're reading it, you already know that. So
yeah.
But I don't know if it's considered canon or not.
It is interesting that they're putting that out.
I don't think it has anything to do with the continuity, to be honest.
Slight possibility, even somewhat, that there is a Billy D. Williams live action Two-Face that we'll see.
No.
I get my fingers crossed. It's been in the comics and Lego Batman, and then he had his return to Star Wars. And it's just me. And no one's going to give a shit that it would tell the continuity of Tommy Lee Jones, because that's all just.
Young Batman. Let's see. Well, I will say this about as someone who's sick of younger Batman. In The Dark Knight, per Chris Nolan, that Batman is in his prime. He is in his prime during the Dark Knight years. And then we see him as an older man in The Dark Knight Rises. So we only saw, and the way they worked it in the Dark Knight trilogy, by the time Batman begins, yes, Batman is a rookie, but he's pretty accomplished as far as a badass and stuff by the time, he takes on the persona of Batman. Eric Joseph says he can't answer till he sees the movie. But given the realistic nature, it's better off finite. You can only go so far without the more fantastical villains. How far would you go on? Are you willing to go with fantastical villains, Rick?
Well, again,
I with the caveat that how would for example, how would the general audience who've seen Batman in solo films since 1989 be, quote unquote, fairly realistically presented? How would they what would they feel about a Clayface, literally a shape-shifting pile of mud?
Can we just keep that for maybe, a really cool, high-budget animated film or CGI film of some sort, like a kind of a Pixar?
Hey, maybe, if you go the route of finite films and stories with one filmmaker, maybe someone comes to pitch because I want to do full-on Batman in his prime, very 1970-ish Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil type. I want Man-Bat. I want Clayface. That's my deal. That's my take,
And maybe that works. And then maybe you and I get our 1930s Batman. There's endless possibilities. And that's an interesting point. It opens up the door to, you want fantastical villains. You obviously you have to have a fantastical universe. And it doesn't mean that can't work. Michael Keaton's Batman's about to be in a world of gods. And I'm okay with that Batman being that, even though that film was a little gritty, still was hyper, not sensationalized. Sensationalized not the right word, but it has a hyper reality to it, right? Even way more so than Nolan. Nolan still was the world that you and I lived in for the most part. We didn't live in Tim Burton's Gotham. That doesn't exist in our universe. And so I'm a little better with it. Plus, considering that he's coming back through the Flash, I'm more open to whatever a filmmaker wants to do with that. But in terms of just making a Batman live action cinematic film with those kind of characters, or being this a million times, literally 9 feet tall, and it's a little tricky. There's a reason why smart filmmakers have avoided it, and then they've given us great Batman films as a result. Doesn't mean it can't happen.
Well, the thing I would say, I always say that even Clay, bring up Clayface. Clayface's original incarnation was what, Rick?
I don't know enough about Clayface.
He was a disgraced actor who was a master of disguise. Basil Carlo. I mean,
what year was he created?
We're talking about the 1940s.
Okay, so he goes back that far. More like the 60s.
So I mean, you could.
It's a character that doesn't interest me at all.
No, that doesn't me either. I mean,
adult man bat doesn't either. I mean, does
Mr. Freeze literally have to be frozen to be Mr. Freeze?
Okay, so you have discussed that. I don't know. You deviate too far away. Now look, Clayface's 1940s origin, I wasn't into that.
So the Joker has to be literally perma-white with white skin to be the Joker.
Of course not. But to be fair to the Joker, you have, as long as he looks like a clown, a diabolical clown, you have a lot of flexibility with it because there's a core visual that goes with that.
So then why did people had huge meltdowns when Heath Ledger was cast and we got that first picture and he had makeup on?
Well, that's comic book purism at its worst. And they also wanted origin stories, which he's far more interesting when it's not, okay, you want to make him a failed comic. We've seen that before. Fine, but why? Why does he have to? And then obviously in '89, they made him Jack Napier as a gangster. And then they made him the person that killed the Waynes, etc. But I'm all for that. Like, I don't care about that kind of continuity because to me, it's not definitive anyway. It's you can have some flexibility with it. There are certain things that have to remain in place. Bruce Wayne's parents have to be killed in front of them. That's the genesis of his Batman. The Joker has to be a clown of some sort, right? So there are things that are must-have, but in terms of characters like Clayface, that I would argue that, man, I've been exposed to him in various forms of animation. And
well, he is. I mean, like the way he's been for the most part since he came back was, I think it was in the 70s. Yeah. And he's been this shape-shifting pile of mud, and it's just, it's a little bit out there for me.
And it's
as far as, I can watch Batman the animated series and watch it in there, and it's fine. Or even the Batman animated series it's underrated, I think.
And that's the Clayface that I know more than anything.
Yeah. But I can say the original incarnation was what I told you. I mean,
but that works also because it's a cartoon. It's an animation.
And again, does the Mr. Freeze need to be literally frozen to be Mr. Freeze? I'm not talking. I mean, he was a gimmicky villain in the beginning. Mr. Zero, 1958, 59, whenever he was created. Became Mr. Freeze for the TV series, and that was the gimmick. I'm frozen and I have a gun that shoots that will freeze you solid. Okay, he was not given any really substance until Batman animated series. They gave him a backstory, the Victor Freeze, his wife and all, that's how
which by the way, some of that stuff was actually well done in Batman and Robin. I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
It's weird to say that
part, I mean, if you use that aspect of for Mr. Freeze, but I don't think he has to 100% be frozen. I mean, you can even come up with a ice gun that's not completely fantastical. So I'm just, I'm being more playing devil's advocate here. A couple more. Bobby Barrett says, feel like the periodic reboots are the new norm. Actually miss the days when a series could go on indefinitely. So he chose that one, the series to go on. But he's fine as long as the product is quality. I think it's just hard to go that long without the quality dropping off, because you get so limited, and you're limiting yourself to continuity, what came before. You're limiting yourself to what characters you've used, and so forth.
And then if you break away from that too much, then you're not really doing it anyway, right? If you're not breaking the continuity and you have different actors, then really at the end of the day, it's just a reboot. It's I'll go back to the Joe Schumacher films. I get that the original intention was the continued part of the. I don't look at it that way. To me, it's a separate universe that has nothing to do with the Burton films. Crossover actors, yes, that's fine. But anyway.
All right. So,
And side note on Bobby Barrett, I'd like to meet that guy. Seems really cool.
so there's a lot more. If you want to, this is a good discussion on Batman on Film, maybe even on Twitter. I haven't checked, but yeah, I'm all for I like it when a filmmaker comes in with a specific take and it's a finite and it's got an ending and I like to see different takes on it. I mean, this, if we were just going on and on and on, we wouldn't be getting the Batman. We wouldn't have got the Dark Knight trilogy. So I like that. I think that's the way to go for the longevity in the future. Any final thoughts on that, Rick? While you look at your phone nonstop?
I'm not looking at my phone nonstop for when you look at your stuff. But what I would say to that, as far as final thoughts, I'll just go back to what I said. Whatever makes it good, I don't care. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, the Passes Prologue, like I said, I look at what has worked and what has not worked. And on film,
okay, you got to make it. You got to choose. Don't walk the line.
I'm not hedging my bets. I'm not hedging my bets. I'm explaining why I'm coming to the decision I'm coming to.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I'm open to discussions about other options, obviously, is my point. But what has worked is what's worked. And that speaks more to me. The Nolan films, outside of Batman 89, the three Nolan films are my Batman films. Nothing else really matters in live action cinematic Batman. I could do without all three sequels. I could do without the Snyder stuff. And so I think that once the Matt Reeves stories are told, it's just going to solidify that position. It's like, this is the way to go. And if someone comes along, Bill, and they shake that up and they produce something outstanding, you and I aren't going to give a damn. If we go sit in the movie theater and it's not the route that we would have chosen, at the end of it, the credits roll and we go, wow, what a fun, kick-ass Batman movie. We don't care.
Well, for right now, we got it's going to be a while because we got the Batman. We're going to have the Batman sequels. We got the Batman spinoffs on HBO Max. So that's going to be the main Batman, live action Batman world for at least the next decade, I would say. So
assuming this first film works, I mean, we know that it will, we feel it, the confidence is there. Let's just say that it doesn't, then you don't know what will happen. That's what happened with the Schumacher stuff. It fizzled out, it died, and then it was stagnant for years. And we got to know whatever it is, I don't think that we're going to have any kind of Joel Schumacher.
I am not worried about the Batman not working and being successful.
I'm not either. I'm just saying I don't have a fortune teller either.
All right. So with that, we're going to get out of here. Did you know that Batman on Film, this podcast, has a sponsor?
Hey, look at my name. I changed it for you. Can you see it?
No, I cannot see your name.
It's on. It should be on. You gotta put this video up, by the way, because we haven't done this in a long time.
Dick Shoes. Now I see it. Dick Shoes is here, everybody. I have one question. Were you one of the Darrens in Bewitched, right?
Where does that come from? Do I look like one of those guys?
I mean, who is it? It was Dick Sargent was the original Darren.
Oh, that's right.
Then it was Dick Shoes, right?
That's right. Dick
Shoes replaced Dick Sargent, the new Darren.
I didn't bother Googling, and I looked and said there were two actors that played him. I didn't know their names. I was like, what is that? I just thought it was still funny. That's even funnier. Well done, William.
The second one his name was Dick Shoes.
Dick Shoes. Who coined that phrase, by the way? Was that Lowry?
I am going to take the fifth on that one. But I've got Rick, I told you I have a sponsor for this here podcast. I have to tell you about them.
Are you going to plug them now?
Yes. Manscaped. You heard of Manscaped?
Yes.
What do you know about Manscaped?
I don't know. I thought this is a trick question. I'm going to just.
No, it's not a trick question. I'm asking. Have you heard of Manscaped?
I've heard of it, but I don't know if I've heard of it in a casual. I mean, I know like manscaping. I don't know, man. My mind's in the gutter right now, so you might want to just segue out of this Question.
Manscaped.
It's Q&A.
Okay. The Batman on Film podcast, this edition, episode number 39, is brought to you by Manscaped, the men's below the waist grooming champions of the world, Rick. Okay, you can, I don't know, like you have this beard. You could probably use it for that, but it's not designed for that.
It's a good looking beard.
You know? Let's see. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. Rick, did you know that?
I might want to look at the Manscaped.
The Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, Rick. The Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. Just for listening or watching, I don't know what version it's gonna probably be. I know it's gonna be a podcast for sure, but if you're listening and you feel the need to be Manscaped, okay, you go to manscaped.com, Rick, and you type in when you buy it, and you have a code Jett BOF, JETTBOF, one word, JETTBOF. You get 20% off. 20% off and free shipping anywhere in the world. What do you think about that?
I think it sounds great. I need to Google them.
Manscaped.com. The code is Jett BOF, JETTBOF, 20% off. 20% off, free shipping. So,
all right, let's plug and get out of here.
What are you gonna plug, Rick? You got anything?
Yeah, to jump over to a chord here, different background. So yeah, let's plug the BOF Satellite Show. So the BOF Satellite Show is just that, guys. We're talking about anything pop culture. Ryan Haas and I are co-hosting it. The rest of the guys are going to start hosting their own shows as well, including Ryan Lowry doing his Toy Story stuff. Upcoming episode from Fanboy Garage, we have Aaron Viola. We're going to talk about the Rocky IV slide cut. We're going to talk about the new Spider-Man trailer that drops today. We're going to talk about the Obi-Wan sizzle and other things. And then we got some shows lined up with Matrix and all kinds of fun stuff. So follow us at BOF Show. And then follow me at Shew Rick, SHEWRICK.
Like a Ramey, my son is doing one here in the next week or so. Actually, he's going to host
Satellite show.
One. Yep.
Nice.
On No Time to Die, this last Bond film, and the comparisons, ironically, between the Batman franchise and Bond and the direction they're both going. So, kind of piggybacking off what we're talking about. All right, for as me. All the shows, the Batman Satellite Show, the Batman Film Social Hour, the BOF podcast, and many others are all part of the Batman Podcast Network. You can find all those shows at batmanpodcastnetwork.com. Follow me on Twitter at Batman on Film. That's more me than Batman on Film stuff, even though I do post it there. You can find all just news links at the Batman on Film, Instagram at Batman on Film. Let's see what else. Oh, Patreon. If you like what we do here at Batman on Film, I want to help support the site. Patreon.com/Batman on Film. Got a lot of good merchandise at TeePublic besides t-shirts, Batman on Film stuff, stickers, whatnot, whatever you want. TeePublic.com/Batman on Film. And I will do want to plug, as we're getting closer, the Batman on Film watch party for the Batman will be on Saturday, March the 5th in Plano, Texas at the Cinemark. The Cinemark West Plano and XP. It's off of the North Dallas Tollway. There's a whole web page for it on Batman on Film proper. Maps to the theater and what we're doing beforehand. So just go there and find Batman on Film, the Batman Watch Party, for all those details. And I believe that's going to be it. So, Rick, I guess we'll leave.
So everybody come to that. And beforehand, we're going to meet at the Parkway Tavern and plan for a pre-show, some drinks and laughs. My wife and I will be there. It'll be a lot of fun. Come join us. I know a lot of you guys are flying in. We love you for it. If you need any help or assistance with hotels, whatever, you can reach out to me directly. And let's do this thing. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
So yes. So I said Plano. If you're not familiar, Plano is in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It is north of Dallas, about 20, 25 miles ish. Exactly. It's also the plane. That area is right next, literally, to the Frisco area. So there's a lot of places to stay, lots of things to do. Again, there's a whole page on Batman on Film with details there. So hope to see you then, because the Batman is coming, only 3.5 months, and we'll be there. So for Rick, I am Bill. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Batman on Film Social Hour, Jett's official BOF podcast and vlog. Follow Jett on Twitter at Batman on Film. For BOF news only on Twitter, follow at the Batman on Film. For Jett and everyone at BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.